What's up everyone, this is Dr. David Song from the Rehab Hero Clinic, and today we'll be talking about how you can learn to touch your toes. We'll be going over nerve mobility, soft tissue mobility, and exercise progression. So keep watching this video to find out how. All right everyone, we're going to teach you how to touch your toes. Now if you haven't been able to touch your toes ever since you're a kid, even though you've been stretching out your hamstrings and the other muscles of the posterior chain, it might be because you're missing certain aspects or elements about your mobility. The first thing that we're going to be talking about is muscular mobility. Specifically, we're going to look at the hamstrings muscle. Second, we're going to look at nerve mobility, specifically the sciatic nerve, which is also the same nerve that is related to sciatica. The third thing we're going to be looking at is movement control, or also known as motor patterning, which is the ability for you to control all those different systems together. Here are the 3 different exercises we're going to do, one for each of those aspects of your mobility. First thing that we're going to do is mobilize the soft tissues of the hamstring muscle. Hamstrings is made of 3 different muscles, the semitendinosus, the semimembranosus, and the biceps femoris. We're going to use a spiky foam roller like the rumble roller over here. If you don't have one, any other foam roller will do the trick. This one will just kind of get a little bit deeper into the hamstrings muscle. So we're going to get started. First thing you're going to do is kind of just sit on the floor and place this foam roller under one of your hamstrings. From here, you're going to place your hands beside you, and you're just going to elevate so that you can put your body weight onto the hamstring. Once you're on it, you're going to kind of roll around to find a nice tight and tender spot, and you're just going to hold it there for about 30 seconds or so. You're not going to roll around on the muscle. So foam rolling is kind of a misnomer in my opinion, because we really don't want to be rolling around in this case. We're just going to hold the pressure onto that muscle. Now, because your hamstring muscle is part of your thigh, and your thigh is a cylinder, placing your thigh directly on might actually require some rotation of the thigh to find the spot that's going to benefit you the most. So you can rotate, and as you can observe, my foot moves outwards to find a spot more on the outer aspect of your hamstrings, or you can rotate inwards to target the inward aspect of that hamstring muscle. And again, you could roll around to find where that tight spot is and just hold it for 20 to 30 seconds. Now, I like to find multiple different spots going from the bum all the way to the back of the knee without repeating the same spot, because we don't want to bruise the muscle. Foam rolling is usually reserved to only doing 2 to 3 times a week. You do not want to be doing this every day, because you can bruise the muscle if you overdo it, and you're only going to do about 6 to 9 different spots. Okay, we're going to move on to looking at sciatic nerve mobility. All right, so this next exercise that we're going to be doing is called a sciatic nerve flossing exercise, and we're going to do it from a seated position. There are versions of it that you could do it on your back or standing up, but we're going to be doing the seated version as it's the easiest to introduce into your body. The reason why we want to be mobilizing the sciatic nerve is because this nerve goes along the back of your leg, and when tight, it can lead to symptoms of tightness in the hamstrings or calf, or even the bum and low back region. It may be one of those factors that you haven't been targeting with your mobility program, because most people really don't focus on nerve mobility. Instead, they really focus hard on muscles and fascia for good reason, but in times where stretching is just not doing the trick, it might be due to underlying nerve mobility issues. So this is how we're going to do this exercise. We're going to start in a seated position, just like any chair or bench. And from here, you're going to simultaneously move your leg, your foot, and your head at the same time, kind of in the same direction. So to start, you're going to look up with your head. And as you're doing that, you're going to extend the knee and dorsiflex the ankle. From there, you're going to look down with your head, bend the knee, and relax everything in place. And then you're going to repeat this about 20 times. During this exercise, it's really important that you don't feel any aggravation of your nerve. It's not that it's going to damage it, it's just not the purpose of today's goal. What we're trying to do is just take that nerve and floss it through the body so that it loosens up any type of muscle entrapment that might be going on along that chain. You will want to repeat this for the other side as well, as one sciatic nerve might be a little bit more mobility than the other. And since you really don't have any way to tell, you could just be doing it on both sides to kind of cover your bases. You want to do this daily for about 3 to 4 weeks, and it can help towards loosening up that sciatic nerve and increasing your ability to touch your toes. All right, next we're going to go into the next exercise, which is more about motor patterning and movement control. The last exercise that we're going to be doing focuses on recruiting intrinsic lumbar stability to open up our hip mobility. In some situations, the lack of intrinsic lumbar stability can cause the over-recruitment of the hamstrings to stabilize the posterior chain. In this event, the lack of intrinsic lumbar stability can limit your ability to touch your toes because of the hamstrings co-contracting to stabilize that movement. So instead, we're going to train your hip adductors, which are your inner thigh muscles, to turn on instead. And this should free up the movement through the posterior chain, meaning the hamstrings and lumbar spine, so that you can reach for your toes more easily. All you're going to do is grab any solid object like a foam roller or yoga block, and you're going to place it between your knees. From here, you're going to give a maximal squeeze of that foam roller between your knees. So I'm trying to use my inner thigh muscles to crush this foam roller with as much force as possible. While I'm maintaining that squeeze, I'm going to reach towards my toes, and I will actually find that I can reach further than what I can typically do when I'm not squeezing anything at all. So from here, I'm going to reach down towards my toes while maintaining that squeeze, and I actually find I can actually reach down with my knuckles or my fingertips. From this position, you're going to maintain that squeeze and hold this position for about 7 to 10 seconds. You're going to do this exercise about 10 times, and what you should notice is that with every repetition, you can reach a little bit further. So if I take a look at my second repetition here, I'm squeezing this foam roller as hard as I can. I'm going to find that I could reach with my knuckles a little bit more, and we'll hold that for 10 seconds. And back up. Now for the sake of this video, I am rushing it a little bit, but I do want you to count to 10 seconds. So even though I cut it a little short with that last repetition, you'll find that I could go a little bit deeper now. I could actually get my first knuckles to touch the floor, and then we'll come back up. You want to do this exercise daily, which means you're going to just do one set of 10 repetitions every day. And you should notice that these results will actually be long lasting. So unlike your standard stretching exercises, which seem almost very temporary, they usually only last for about half an hour, the benefits that you get with these mobility gains or these mobility exercises will last multiple days, if not weeks. That's how you're going to start working towards touching your toes. Now, often it can take a few weeks, if not a few months, for you to progress, but it's also not too uncommon for people to be able to reach that end range within 1 week. It really depends on where you're starting at. If you're experiencing back pain or hamstring issues prior to doing these exercises, it's recommended to first clear those issues first, as we really don't know what's underlying causes or underlying conditions you might have. You want to make sure you're being safe before you're starting these 3 exercises. If you have any questions or you want to let us know that you were able to touch your toes, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.